problem is? I ain't got no problem, man. Don't tell me what my problem is.
Renowned for his fierce temper and devotion to his inner group, Lil Scrappy was a mainstay of Atlanta's hip-hop and love culture. For years, viewers have been following Scrappy's turbulent path on TV, seeing his profession and familial relationships rise and fall. But nothing could have predicted the day when his own actions would knock him down from grace. It began with a particularly contentious argument with Khaotic, a cast member known for his brazen demeanor and tendency to cause trouble. Khaotic and Scrappy had a minor argument that soon got out of hand. This began as an argument that quickly turned into a full-fledged altercation in which obscenities and expletives were exchanged. Scrappy had always been prone to losing his anger, and the strain was getting to be too much. Even though Scrappy and the other man spoke harshly, his threats that would ultimately decide his destiny were more than just words. His tone was foreboding, and he threatened to cause chaos. The wording itself did not leave much room for interpretation. The crew and producers were shocked to learn that this wasn't simply another heated argument after a man behind the cameras had crossed a clue. The motion was swift. The Love and Hip Hop brand, which was developed as reality television, does not tolerate threats or violence. Had always been unpredictable and spectacular, but there were boundaries. Authorities soon decided that Scrappy's rant had gone too far. One of the most recognizable characters in the program, Scrappy, lost his job. Swift gave it some thought before deciding. Since its inception, Scrappy had been a member of Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and the program had been crucial to his career. His life, music, and complex relationships with his family had all been highlighted on the platform, but now everything was at risk. Considering the possible effects on the show's reputation, as well as the performers' and crew's safety, was distressing. Danger brought on by a single instance of vulnerability. When the tale was revealed, fans were split. Some were incensed with Scrappy for getting angry and starting a fight. Others slammed the show for its hasty decision, saying it reflected the thin balance that performers frequently had to tread between entertaining and the implications to themselves. The termination meant more to Scrappy than simply losing his job since, in the days that followed, a television stood as a reminder of the price he paid for his rage and his failure to control it during a passionate moment. Scrappy said nothing, taking a moment to consider his public image. Although Persona had always presented himself as bold and confident, the truth of what had transpired slowly dawned on him. He had harmed himself, which had harmed his profession. Khaotic continued to appear on the show in spite of the backlash, but the tension between him and Scrappy persisted in the background. Although Scrappy was no longer the main character, the show will continue without him for the first time in a long time. The anger that had protected him now acted as a barrier as the lesson proved difficult but necessary. His removal from Love and Hip Hop hurt his career.
I probably went too hard or something, took something the wrong way or something like that, you know? So I want to say, I'm sorry to Khaotic. We're getting somewhere. We're not. But not. Because I can give a Because let me tell you something. When a over me and he feel like I'm not a good person, I feel the same way Khaotic. So we on the same page.
No, but he does not feel that.
He just said it. He said, hey, if you feel like I'm not a good person in your life, then you need to stay like that. And
You said me you're a good
and we don't stand on it.
No.
Let's stand on it.
No.
We don't stand on it.
No, he said not. Stop. He did not say that.
What I said was, if you feel like I'm a bad person to you, then
Okay, but this is not about that right now. This is about you. How do you feel about him?
I never said I had a problem with him.
No, this what he do. This what he do. He say something crazy, and he be like, "Oh, I ain't got no beef. I ain't got no gun."
Khaotic always trying to play a victim. He'll start, then he want to be like, I don't want no beef, man. If you got an issue, stand on it. If not, sit down and shut up.
At the end of the day, like I said, bro, it don't even really matter.
Cuz gonna try to goddamn. He want everybody
like, oh my God.
No, because we're so grown, we're only making a snippet of our own thoughts here.
I be watching Cuz. I be like, oh.
Okay, so wait.
You know what your problem is?
I ain't got no problem. I'll beat your ass.
You had a million times to do it.
Why you
on TV,
man? You a clown.
You got a problem with me.
You a keep talking that boy.
Even though Scrappy had his share of difficulties with his family and his profession, nothing could have predicted the day when his own behavior would make him unpopular. Initially, there was a particularly heated dispute with a fierce cast member who had never been threatened by. He and Scrappy were arguing about something trivial that soon got out of hand. Words were spoken and profanities were yelled as what had begun as a disagreement swiftly turned into a full-fledged fight. As the tension increased, a subject who was notorious for his brazen manner, inclination to cause trouble, and propensity to lose his temper easily was getting close to breaking. The two men swore at each other, but Scrappy's threats were what would ultimately end his life. In a moment of rage, he threatened disaster in a way that was more than just words. His tone was ominous, and the words themselves didn't leave much room for imagination. The producers and crew weren't prepared for the reality that this wasn't simply another tense disagreement, but rather a man who had gone too far.
Whole time, he the one who called me out my name, disrespecting me, talking gangster. I never talked gangster. I never threatened him. I don't play no victim. I just don't do all that fake gangster talking and all that. You can't let me talk to gangster. First of all, if I say anything sick or say anything crazy out my mouth.
The time behind the cameras was hectic. Although the Love and Hip Hop series had a strong guideline prohibiting violence and threats, reality television ran for a while under the pretense of chaos and drama. The authorities quickly came to a conclusion because Scrappy's outburst had violated those boundaries. One of the most famous characters from the show, Scrappy, was discovered. It wasn't decided right away, but it was decided to fire him right away. After giving considerable thought to the potential repercussions for the show's reputation and the safety of the performers and crew, Scrappy took a tremendous knock. He had been involved with Love and Hip Hop Atlanta since its inception, and the show had been fundamental to his career. The platform had showcased his life, music, and intimate ties to his family. But now a moment of weakness had put everything in jeopardy. Fan reactions to the story's revelation were mixed. Some were incensed with Scrappy for getting upset and starting arguments. The show's rapid response was questioned by some, who said it showed the F-line reality star's tendency to balance entertainment value with personal repercussions. Scrappy, however, believed that the dismissal was more than the end of it. The cost of his anger and his inability to control it when he was feeling impassioned were brought home to him over the course of the following several days when he watched TV. Scrappy stayed silent, thinking about what he had done. He had always presented himself as confident and blustery in public, but it soon became clear that what had really happened behind the scenes was that he had hurt himself, which had hurt his career. Even so, he continued to appear on the show despite the criticism, but the tension between him and Scrappy remained in the background. The show will continue without Scrappy for the first time in a long time, but he was no longer the main character. The lesson is difficult but necessary since the resentment that had protected him when he lost his place on Love and Hip Hop now stood in the way of his success.